Hello, I'm Brianna Wunderlin, and I am the host of this amazing summit with so many cool conversations that I have been honored and privileged to have with people. And my message for you today is about opening your heart to your pleasure, to your purpose, and to your power. Opening your heart to your pleasure. Opening to your heart in the first place is an amazing act of courage, right? Because our heart can house some of our deepest pain. It can also house our deepest pleasure. And being open to receiving that pleasure is a radical act in today's world. With so many people focused on what's out there versus what's in here. When we really orient our view to what's in here, this body housing our spirit, this amazing form we've been given, this cool and miraculous piece of earth that our spirit, our soul has been allowed to inhabit, has been given the chance to animate. We are that coming together of heaven and earth. We are the coming together of spirit that is animating this world. Yes? And the whole world is animated that way. And when we orient ourselves to that perspective, the world is orgasmic. It's full of orgasm. It's full of life force moving everywhere. Life force is the orgasmic energy. It is what creates the impetus for life. That's how you got here. That's how I got here, right? Is the sharing of that life force energy between two people that then created the vessel, yes, for our spirit to come into a body, to be here, to be present, right? And so to be present with this body, to be in existence, is to open to that possibility. And that links us to our purpose, because we came here with a purpose. We all came here with a purpose. And that purpose, on a spiritual level, is number one, numero uno, to exist. Okay? To exist. We are in existence with everything else, to be alive, to have a livingness, a juicy livingness that incorporates the senses, that incorporates our bodies, that incorporates our ability to reach the star beings, our ability to commune with gods and goddesses, our ability to transcend and transform and integrate and embody. All of these different actions are available to us as a human, right? Which is amazing. The only issue is a lot of times our minds get a little nuts. Yeah, they run away with themselves. They like to tell stories. Our minds are oriented to protect us, to keep us safe, to organize, to make plans. Yeah, and we want to love that part of ourselves, that part that can be like, all right, here's the structure, and this is how we're going to follow it. Yeah? The only issue with that is that in this day and age, our minds have run amok, and we've let them run everything, right? They've become the ruler, in the way, of the world. And this cuts us off from our body, and this is what creates so much suffering in the world. And to become embodied in your body, especially as a woman, probably most of the people listening to this talk are women, even though there's some men. Hello, men. I love you, and I'm so glad you're here. That this opportunity to be present in the body is what can save the world, is what can save climate change, is what can, bring us into greater harmony with the fact that we have a lot of our needs met, that joy is available right here, right now for you in this moment, right? Maybe you're getting joy in the moment by listening to me speak. You're hearing the sounds of my voice. You're hearing the vibration that I am projecting. How is that being projected? It's being projected through my soul, but it's being projected, it's being animated by my soul, let's say, or brought through by my soul. It's being projected out of my mouth, out of my vocal cords, out of this amazing instrument of life. Yeah? And I have all these things that make that possible, like a tongue. Use tongue for lots of things, right? Eating a lot of different kinds of things. Food, and eating genitals. Didn't think I was going to say it, did you? Anyways. Which can provide a lot of pleasure, right? I mean, one of the first things we do as babies is put everything in our mouth, right? We're literally learning what new things are by using our mouths, okay? By acclimating our newly inhabited bodies that have come from the spirit plane, let's say, into a body, and we're like, whoa, this new thing, and the body is a new thing on earth that's been born in this new capacity, in this new way, in this unique iteration of our soul that has traveled through time and generations and different iterations over and over again. You've been here a million times, and you're going to be here a million more in some form or another. I remember a lot of times teachers or gurus will use the metaphor like, if you want to, get out of suffering, basically, on the human plane, you can transcend that by becoming enlightened and then leaving the planet and just becoming, let's say, an ascended master or whatever. Ascended masters are great. I love them. I love connecting with them. I think that's beautiful. And do I think that's a possibility? Yeah, I totally think it's a possibility. But that doesn't mean that those beings aren't a part of the field of life force that creates this physical reality as well. In fact, they're instrumental in it. So we're all connected. We cannot break that connection, even though our minds might think somehow that we have broken the connection. We haven't not broken any connection, okay? We're here. Spirit is here. The earth is here. It's all there. The only thing that has broken the connection is this piece of our minds that says, I'm separate from, I'm separate from God. I'm separate from love. I'm separate from my pleasure. My pleasure's out there. I have to go get it somewhere. That person is going to provide it for me. That object is going to provide it for me. This event is going to give it to me. And while that can definitely be true, and I do want you to open to your heart, because your heart is a beautiful leader in that desire, and we do need things that, help fulfill our deeper pleasure. That's why letting our heart be our guide to our pleasure, what is it in your heart that you actually want, that will open the doorway, right, to our deeper purpose. Because your bliss, what you love to do, opens the doorway for your purpose. So I'll just use myself as an example. One of the things I love to do, which is often not a common love, is meditate. I love to meditate. And I love to have other people meditating with me. I love to be in silence with people. I love the peace of that. I also love connecting. But this is something that just naturally flows through me. It's easy for me to do, and it's something that I help other people do. And that I use in my healing to help other people do as well, because it's often a place that our culture teaches us not to experience. Because it's teaching you always to be in action, 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 right? And if you're always in action, you're never resting, you're never really completing the cycle of consciousness. Because the cycle of consciousness, right, is waking time, dreaming time, and sleeping time. You're spending a lot of your day, right, sleeping and dreaming. A lot of your 24-hour cycle, let's say. With the night, with the beauty of the dark. That dark, that's how you get nurturance. If you don't sleep, you are not going to be able to, take action, right? If your brain isn't going to work, nothing's going to work. You depend on staying in that darkness, in that womb space, in that unconsciousness. Some people can stay conscious often when they sleep. I have stayed conscious before, but you also need to just turn it off. It has to click off. Your mind, we have to get a rest from our mind. Our body needs a rest from our mind. Our body's like, give me a rest. Click. And this is the beautiful thing, is staying in that. And when you can also stay conscious of that, like I have my best, most connected ideas when I'm in that liminal space, that space of meditation where I've allowed my body to sink deep into rest. My body is resting. I'm allowing and receiving energy, and I'm allowing that energy and connection to divine to power my mind, to not make stories, but just have a direct connection of that experience. And that is where so much of my inspiration comes from. And it fuels me. And it fuels everyone. It is fueling the world. And the fact that we don't honor that fuel, we don't honor that dark womb space, that place where all life is created, which you could also liken to the cosmic womb space. You'll hear one presenter talk about Ilarion Merculif, about the womb at the center of the universe. And while that womb is here all the time in a sense, and women have a direct connection to that womb space in their physical bodies, that's my experience, that I have that direct connection. I when I first started playing with that concept, I would journey out to the universe and reach the center of the universe in a womb space, and that was cool. But when I really accessed it in my own body, there was so much life force pouring out of me, I wouldn't have to spend that much time, and I was like jazzed for the rest of the day. Talk about coffee. You don't need coffee. You got a womb, right? And there is a lot of stuff that you can feel in there if you're accessing the physical dreaming, the body's dreaming. Let's say the body has its own consciousness as well, and our wombs also have stored a lot of trauma and a lot of pain. And when we clear that out as women, we make room for the divine consciousness of the womb, the codes of creation, you could call them, that energy that propels creation to be born. When we really release ourselves into that, we are really in the original energy of life that propels all existence. It's a feeling of connection so vast, but so present, so juicy, that we are fulfilled. Because that's part of the point of living in this body, like I listed earlier. And that's also the place where there's silence, there's an emptiness, there's a pregnant potential, the place of possibility. And right now, more than ever, when the earth is in ecological crisis because the human mind has run away with itself, We need that womb space. We need that connection to the aliveness. We need also to hear the voice of the earth. And we can do that through our bodies. Men can do that too. I don't have an experience of being a man this lifetime, although I've had it in other ones. But I know that they can also have that experience, and you'll hear that again, I said earlier, but in Ilarion Mikuliff's talk, he'll talk about his experience, and he's a man, of reaching it. Also, Lama Rada once talks about it in his talk as well. But getting back to this place of silence, this place where the possibility of creation exists, we need to access that. We need to access that possibility of creation. Because that's where intuition, invention, that's where we get in alignment with divine. And by divine, I don't mean something external from you. I mean the interconnected web, the energy that powers all. I mean exactly what I'm talking about. We are, in a way, out of alignment with it in our actions, in the way in which we have not held the earth and this beautiful life that we have as sacred, as a wonderful opportunity. And being present with that opportunity, that pleasure and joy, right? That helps us get in touch with our purpose. And we can access that through our heart and our womb. The heart is the bringing together of heaven and earth in the body. It's the chakra that has to do with love and affinity and connection. It also has to do with, your physical heart, and creates the largest electromagnetic field outside of your body, in projecting out of your body. So when you build this space, you create a resonance with life. You create a greater pulse with connection, right? And that's what we need. We need that pulse of connection. And we need to feel that within our physical form. And that's what brings us our power. What bigger power could there be than that which is powering this entire creation? There is no bigger power. That is the biggest power. Can I get an amen? That's what I was feeling like I was doing. But seriously, there is no bigger power than that which is the cosmic generator of all of this. Okay, that is powering our souls. And our souls, which we can find a direct connection to through our heart space. And I will probably be teaching a course about that soon. And our souls are connected to that cosmic generator, that divine source, right? And so when we open this space, we can connect our spiritual information with our earth information, our earth experience. And we can bridge those worlds that often seem separate to us, where we often are either in survival, having worries and fears about survival, worries and fears about relationships, worries and fears about our identity, in the world, or how others are perceiving us, or our ability to make change in our lives, or be empowered, or fuel our lives, right? Those are kind of a rundown of the first three chakras. We're in that consciousness, right? Those consciousnesses are all very important. And we get to the heart, give that energy as well, that the heart can help guide us, because it can bring down this amazing spiritual energy that often we concentrate in our upper chakras, although it's in our whole bodies, right? And everybody's different at the same time. I'm saying this like it's a map, and it is a map in a way, but every person is an individual. For example, I often, if we're looking at it from an energy perspective or my subtle body, because I'm a clairvoyant and a psychic as well, and we look at people's energy bodies and their aura and their chakras and how they've had past lives and their patterns and how those patterns have created this life, which is true. And releasing and healing those lifetimes can create more joy and pleasure in this lifetime, and more connection to our purpose, and more connection to our innate power. However, each person is very individual. Like, I would often run earth energy up here, way up here. Why am I doing that? Probably because I, am working on grounding. And it's been easier for me to go out of my body and into the stars versus really staying here. However, I just want to thank my body in the moment. Thank you, body, because thank you, me, in this body, because I have had this opportunity to experience this beautiful life. Even though sometimes life doesn't go my way, it's still an amazing creation. So, let me just listen for a second before I go on. So, power in a female body. I want to talk about that, right? And this is not to belittle the experience of men. This is just about my experience being in a woman's body and how I see that relating to other women's bodies. That women's bodies have, in Western culture and around the world, in the last, centuries, 1,000 years or something, I'm not great at history, have been property for others, right? They have been told they don't have, and I think that was actually, when I feel into that, it's often the way men tried to control, and in the background is a message about protection, which is a true yearning for the male archetype, and for that energy does often come into male bodies, though female bodies as well. We all have masculine and feminine energy in us, though it can be more comfortable for us to run one or the other. As a woman, it's more comfortable for me to run female energy, and I naturally do. As a man, it's often more comfortable, but not always. Some people don't have it that way. Just depends on the person. So being in a female body, we often have issues around self-worth, around being heard, around feeling like we're seen for our gifts, that our bodies are validated, right? Given the chance to reproduce, give birth in the way we would like to, in the way that we are told menstruation, for example, which is a huge part of all women's lives. Even if you're already, post-menopause, you've had a ton of time. And in a way, you can see this subjugation or the creating of shame around that it's bad to have a woman's body because it's bad to bleed. When bleeding is a gift, is a huge gift that women experience and connect us to the cyclical nature of life, which is often why divine feminine archetype, right, includes the body of the earth, is how that relates to women's bodies is, well, A, creation literally comes out of our bodies, but B, and I'm sure there's C and D's, but we also have these cycles that connect us to the cycles of regeneration and letting go and death and dying, in a sense, because every month we're holding an egg, and we're holding that egg for the potential of creation to be manifest. And then if creation is not manifest that way through us, we're releasing the egg, right? We're having a death and dying. We're letting the egg go back to the earth. That's why one reason why many women give their moon blood to the earth, and which is an important practice. I do it as well. And there's a beautiful prophecy, native prophecy, about when women give their blood to the earth, men will no longer shed it in war. When we are tied to that cycle of giving and receiving and letting go, we are tied to those cycles of grieving and loss, and also joy and new beginnings and happiness. But when we embrace all those things, anger as well, when we embrace that cycle of living, then nature, we come back into alignment with nature. And that's another reason why it's important to honor women's bodies and their cyclical nature. Honoring your body and your cyclical nature. I haven't done any research into how men experience that, although I know there is some, and I know that they do as well. Yeah, so coming back into this embracing, and when we come back into that embracing of our cycles, of what our bodies are already doing, of what we are already doing, we come back to embracing our purpose, right? Because our purpose is linked to what you're already doing as a soul, or what comes naturally to you. And that is usually linked to your pleasure. And being in natural rhythms is very pleasurable. Even grief and loss has an ecstasy to it. And you'll see Starhawk in one of her talks has a beautiful story about that. I have also experienced ecstasy while grieving. When you have no resistance to your feelings, right? The issue comes when we get in conflict in ourselves. That's what creates the suffering, and that's another form of separation. When we say to ourselves, it's not okay that you had that, when we're shaming ourselves. It's not okay that you have that emotion. It's not okay that you were afraid right then. It's not okay that, and we often hear this from our parents, right? This conditioning. Or from culture, like, it's not okay to cry. If you're, be a man. Don't cry. Right? But then that gets projected onto women as well, although it's often more accepted for women to cry. So I just want to really make space for men's tears as well and honor them. So that conflict that we have within ourselves, it takes us out of our pleasure. It takes us out of acknowledging what is. And what is that this human body, this beautiful gift, one of the energy of emotions is a powerful and potent life force. It's a powerful expression of life force moving in the world. And you can see that life force moving in the world in so many ways, in the force of the wind, or volcanoes exploding, or a plant growing. And when we tie those all together, we come to a wholeness. A wholeness that is really what saves the earth and ourselves from destruction. It's embracing that cycle, and those cycles that happen all the time for you in any process you're going through. It doesn't have to be a monthly period cycle either, or death, birth, rebirth. We're happening all the time. I was born into an adult, you could say. I went through an initiation into womanhood. called a sacred emergence. And part of that process was letting go and letting my childhood die. And being reborn as a woman. And honoring myself for that and being honored by community for that gift that I'm here to bring. And when you honor yourself, that's another huge way to give yourself pleasure. Honoring yourself. Honoring these desires of the body as well. Self-pleasuring. Some of the talks will be about that. Brings us into a connection with that life force. Because our genitals are connected, yoni is connected to that life force, to the creation of that life force. Giving ourselves pleasure there is stimulating that life force and bringing us into connection with the natural world that is, as you'll hear in Susan Wheat's talk, all about sex, right? That the flower is really just the sex organs of the plant. They're looking pretty good, just like yours is looking pretty good. So we've been told that those things are shameful. That often comes from a lot of religious programming as well, right? Christian programming, often, many types of religious programming. That part of your body is shameful, or to touch it is shameful. Probably most people watching this talk don't think that. But just to honor it even more as this portal for creational life force to come through, and that stimulating that energy can be used in many different ways. And many can be used for healing, can be used for consciousness, can be used for creating more energy in your body. It can be directed. But just to honor that is a part of who you are as a human. And then honoring how that creates motherhood in a way, that honoring, and I don't mean motherhood just in mothering children, although I do want to honor mothers who have mothered children, and that place that you brought a home for life force and life to grow within you, and then release that into the world. And we do that with any project that we allow ourselves to embark upon. So connecting with that purpose, honoring that life force, is allowing it also to get channeled into projects that are close to your heart, that feed you, right? When you ask yourself, what do you really want in your heart? What do you desire? What does my heart desire? And you allow yourself to honor that and give it. This world would be completely transformed if we all did that. So that's part of my reason for giving this talk. We would see so much more connection, so much more fulfillment, and so much more embracing of our inherent power. And that's how we're connected to all that is. So I just want to leave you with that. And maybe you want to put your hand on your heart for a second and just feel and say thank you. Starting with gratitude is so beautiful. Thank you for this body. Thank you for this life. Thank you for the connection, if I feel it or don't feel it, that exists with everything, everywhere. To the womb of the mother, to the tip of my finger, to that butterfly on the other side of the world, to that star in the other end of the cosmos. It's all connected. And I want to welcome you into that existence. Thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing your unique soul, your unique body, your unique purpose that you're going to manifest and your unique pleasure to this place. You have a home here. I want to welcome you here, welcome that here, and I know, blessed be, above and below, it will be manifest. Oh, thank you. And if this talk was inspiring to you, please take advantage of my free gifts. And get in contact. I'd love to hear from you about your experience in the summit and your experience really honoring your pleasure, power, and purpose.